Let's get started. All right, welcome everybody. Happy November. 1 week away from Turkey Day. So I can't wait. And I am so happy to be here with my good friend, my colleague, Jared Ranson, you can see on the screen right now. And today's webinar is from Ask to Appreciation, closing the year with donor care and results. And I just love that title. So let me tell you who I am. I am Jack Olato, and I'm a trainer and I'm an instructor. I'm a CFRE study group moderator, and that's who I am. And I'm happy to be here. With that, we like to say at the Fundraising Academy, fundraise. You've got a cause, and we can help you learn how to find it. With that, I've already introduced myself, so we'll skip through that. I am going to turn it over to my friend who I love the glasses. Where can I get those glasses, Jared?
Well, I might have multiple pairs, Jack, and thank you. I love the energy and I love that we have so many attendees here today. I am super casual in style, so please know that. Jack and I have worked together over the years, and I will say he's also very casual in style. So use the chat discussion, use the Q&A. We are here to help and be of service to you, your mission, your education, and really moving the needle when it comes to your end of year fundraising. So a little bit about me. Thank you, Jack. Yes, also known as Nonprofit Nerd. And today I'm going to talk to you about ending your year strong, not just in dollars, right? But also in the relationships that you're building. So as a trainer for Fundraising Academy, I really enjoy using their curriculum, which I'm going to share in a couple of slides going forward, but then really get into the nitty gritty of end of year, because guess what, friends? It is here. It is here. As Jack said, we're like, a week away from Turkey Day. So we've got a lot going on. We've got a couple of polls. This is our first one. So if you would, please participate. Let us know how many years of fundraising experience you have. We just like to kind of set the tone, set the stage, get a better understanding of who is here with us today. It might help us tailor how we present the information and really just how far in depth we might go. So looks like we've got a variety of attendees, which I love to see in so many different reasons, mostly because I have been in this industry 20 plus years, really doing fundraising for 75% of that. And so I love seeing some OGs that are here with me that have that 10 plus years. And I equally love the less than 1 year and everything in between, because I want us to build, and I know Jack is very strong on this through his CFRE training and mentoring. I want us to build professionals in the sector. We need you. I want to keep you here in this sector. I want to recruit more talent here into the sector. So thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing and participating in this. So how many years fundraising experience? We've got several of you at less than a year. We've got even more at 1 to 3. Several, it looks about consistent between that 4 to 10 year mark. So that's the 4 to 7, the 8 to 10. And then we've got 13 of you that are here, lucky 13 at the 10 plus year mark. So thank you so very much for participating in that poll. As I said, we've got a couple of polls that we will share. We've got some community chats here. So thank you for doing that. And looking at the objectives, again, I shared a little bit about what I am going to present you today. Again, very casual in style. So insert your questions, insert your comments. There are definitely times in here where I ask you to provide some of your own examples. So I encourage you to do that. This is a safe, friendly, inviting space. And again, we are here for you. So in this webinar, we are going to learn how to craft these compelling year-end asks, discover some strategies to help sustain this momentum, because it's a marathon, and I'm going to share that here, right? It's a marathon, not a sprint. We're also going to talk about strengthening your donor relationships through appreciation, that attitude of gratitude. And also we're going to learn about building these long-term, impact strategies by re-engaging donors in the coming year. So we're going to move truly, like throughout this time together, from ask to momentum to appreciation to re-engagement, all rooted in cause selling. So here's one more poll, if you would, again, like we're going to warm up and do this participatory right out the gate. But I would really like to know, where are you right now as we talk today in your end campaign planning? We've got, I'm ready and confident. We've got the second option is, I have some ideas, but I need some clarity. And then the third one is, what campaign? So I know. I like the humor. And thank you, Debbie. I see in the chat you've got ready and confident. And we have many of you coming in, really in those first two, ready and confident. And I have some ideas, but I need some clarity. And then there's a few of you going, what campaign? We don't have that going on. So that's okay. I want you to know, again, good, safe company. I'm going to go into some data in the coming slides about end of year, what it looks like, how much money it brings in to our friends across the nation, and really what that looks like. So again, thanks for participating here in this poll. And Jack, we can move on to the next as we dive into the cause selling cycle. Now, this is what Jack and I are trained to deliver. I really love speaking about this. As I mentioned, I've been in the sector 20 plus years. 75% of that I've been doing what you are here to do, fundraising, right? A professional fundraiser. I did not learn of this cause selling education model, the cause selling cycle, until probably about 3, maybe 4 years ago. So I share that to tell you, regardless of where you are in that very first poll, right? You could be within your 1 to 3 years in the career. You could be your 10 plus. It doesn't matter where you are in your career. This model is here for you. The cycle is here for you, your team, your staff, your volunteers, your board members, right? So I encourage you to really get to know it, engage in it. And then at the end, we will share some resources on a free portal that we have, or I should say a no cost portal, because of course it costs money, but thankfully, we have a very generous donor that allows the portal and all of its many resources to be available to all of you and the entire community truly at no cost. So looking at the cause selling cycle, as you can see, there are 3 phases and there are 8 steps that make up the entire phase. So with these 8 essential steps, regardless of where you are with the gift potential of a donor, there are always certain predictable actions that must be performed. So I want you to think of this as the steps in a sales cycle. We've all purchased something, and I would even venture to guess it is likely that all of us have also made a charitable donation. So we've probably been a part of this cycle in both of those ways. So there are 3 distinct phases that you can see here on the model, and they're colored in those phases. Phase 1, that includes all the work that is necessary to prospect for qualified potential donors. Phase 2 is the face-to-face time with those prospective donors, right? So that's your purple. And then the phase 3 includes everything after that gift is made. So I'm going to dive, staying on the slide, a little bit deeper. That phase 1 is truly about prospecting, okay? Where you find your qualified donors and determine their propensity to give to your organization. Then you move to that pre-approach, which is the preparation of making a great first impression by learning more about your prospect and setting up for the approach. Phase 2 is that approach, right? So it's everything you've accomplished and prepared for in phase 1. The approach is all about making that first impression. And then the need discovery is all about asking those meaningful questions and practicing your active listening skills. This also helps you to build trust and learn that key information about your prospective donor. And then after that need discovery, you move into presentation, where you communicate your cause during this presentation and you demonstrate your impact, ensuring, right, during your presentation that it is tailored for each prospect. And then the presentation, of course, wouldn't be complete without your ability to handle those objections. So we can only imagine and prepare for objections to come up through our conversations. And so that's also included in this phase. And then the final phase is 3, right? This includes making that ask. It also is all about, developing the relationship with a prospective donor. You have now understood how you can best meet their needs, their interest, right? That they really have top of mind, as well as their passion. So their passion should align with your organization here. So now, after all of this, right, you're poised to make your ask with both confidence and success. So again, I tell you, and then finally, stewardship is the importance of fostering the loyalty through the strong engagement practices, as well as deepening your relationships with your donors. Now, again, regardless of where you are in your career, no matter where you are in your position, you can implement these 8 phases within the model right now, right? So I encourage you to do that. If this is a new tool for you, I encourage you to get to know it. It's a phenomenal tool, phenomenal resource, and it's also phenomenal for our board members that might have some fear when it comes to fundraising. This is very tangible, very visual, very actionable, and it really walks you through all of that. So on our next slide, I want to ask you where you think ask to appreciation might fit in, okay? Where in today's conversation do you think we're asking and we're appreciating where it might fit in to the model? Any guesses to put into the chat? I'd love to just see your response here and what you think that might look like.
I
Jennifer,
see Jennifer Gregg has stewardship,
love
and
it.
Shadina, I hope I pronounced it, says phase 3. Catherine says 8. Kristen says 3. All the time. Stephanie Page says all the time. Debbie Scott, my good friend, says acknowledgement.
Love it.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, very insightful. And thank you for all of you. I really appreciate that. Yes, so it fits primarily in the post ask portion. But you were right. Whoever it was that said all the time, I do agree
All the
with that,
time.
right? If we're looking to really pigeonhole it into a phase, it is that phase 8 and it is that step 3, essentially, if you'll look at that. So okay, let's move to the next slide as we really dive into the year-end giving landscape. And as I mentioned earlier, we are here. And I want to share with you why this is worth your focus, why this being end of year or year end, right? That's kind of interchangeable terminology, why it is so important and worth your focus. You probably have all heard this by now, but approximately 30% of all giving, all charitable giving, happens in December. And 10% of that amount happens in the last 3 days of the year. So I am sorry, friends, but when it comes to requesting our PTO time, typically November and December is out of the question for us because it should be very busy. We should be accepting gifts, receiving gifts, processing, acknowledging, doing all this stewardship. It is a really hard time for us in the fundraising world to take some time off. I'm going to say anywhere between Thanksgiving and the end of the year. But I also want to go on to say that many organizations actually bring in as much as 50% of their individual giving and also just like general contributions in December. So we're talking all 11 months of the year. And then 50% of some organizations, they get a large percentage of their operating money in 1 month. And that calendar month is December. So end of year is the most lucrative. It's also the most high stake, sometimes high stress, right? In the fundraising world. So, when we look at this, you might be asking yourself, how on earth will I do it all? You might be feeling stressed. You might be feeling overwhelmed, and a solid year-end fundraising plan can truly help. Now, if you're in that stress and you're in that overwhelm mode, also, I want you to know you are not alone. There's many of us, right, that we have a lot on our plate. There's a lot of events happening, direct mail. So there's a lot of moving pieces. But truly, I want you to know that cause selling in this particular model, it starts with knowing your donor, right? Not just your need. for the organization. What is your goal? What is your metric? It's knowing your donors' need. And the why now for them is as important as the why now for you. So that kind of sets the stage. Our next slide, Jack, we're going to go into the ask. And this is an ask that talks about crafting a compelling campaign. You've got some bullet points here, right? And I'm going to expound on them a little bit more for all of you. But I also want us to break this into a 3-part formula. It is donor-centered story, number one. The second part is a specific goal. How much money are we looking to raise? And then the third part is urgency. So we break it down, 3-part formula, the story, which is a donor-centered story, a specific dollar amount, specific goal, as well as that urgency that we want to relay in this, compelling campaign. So I want to give an example of a food bank fundraising message. I think we can all relate to current events, right? Where we are with federal funding, food stamps, all of the emergency food that is needed right now for our friends across the nation. So here is a donor-centered story as an example that I want to share with you. Maria, a single mom of 2, walked into our food bank for the very first time. She told us that she had been choosing between paying rent and buying groceries, and that she herself had not eaten a full meal in 2 days so that her kids could. Because of generous supporters like you, we were able to send Maria home with fresh produce, healthy pantry staples, and a sense of relief that she hadn't felt in months. Now, the specific goal that I'm going to insert here is, as we head into the colder months, we've set a goal to provide 15,000 emergency food boxes to families just like Maria's. Each box costs $32 to fill with nutritious, well-balanced food. The urgency that I want to insert here, demand is rising faster than our shelves can keep up. We need to raise $25,000 by this Friday to purchase the food needed for next week's distribution. Families are already lined up, and we don't want to turn anyone away. The call to action is, will you give today to ensure that every family who comes to us this week goes home with the food they need? So, Jack, I'm going to put you on the spot. What do you think of that example as it comes to a compelling campaign and hitting those marks?
Well, I think your urgency is really clear. That people are going without food. It's that time of year when food is very expensive. We see inflation rising. So the compelling is very, very urgent. And the other thing that I think is really great that you talk about is credibility, the credibility of your organization to deliver on that mission, that promise to feed the poor. So that's great.
Great.
I love it.
Yeah. Thank you. So that is one example, right? And so hopefully for some of you in the food resource community, maybe this is an example that can work for you. Now, the next slide, oh, sorry, let's stay on this one, because I also want to highlight, in addition to urgency, you could have match challenges, right? Double your impact. I saw a phenomenal email from an organization this last week, and it talked about how, you could double your money. You could double your impact, rather, because there is a donor who is matching dollar for dollar. Now, they were not shy about this. The subject line read, you can double your impact by contributing within this certain time frame. And they really leveraged that match giving. That itself, I thought, was beautiful, clear, urgent call to action, right? And really just saying that from the beginning, because when you can double your impact, and I've even seen triple sometimes, which is rare, but I see it. And I love when I see that, because I feel like we often see this match, but it's even more rare to see, a triple your impact or more. And then to integrate all of this together, right, is key. I also, and I'll talk about this for a little bit later, but really looking at how do we leverage all of our staff, because I believe, and I'm sure you do too, Jack, every single person within the nonprofit is a fundraiser, should be a fundraiser, should actually absolutely be part of the fundraising process and the goals. So, integration of the messaging, integration with your team members, integration with your social media and all of the messaging, all of that is key. So the next slide, if we can move to
Before
that
you go
one,
on, before you go on, Jared, there's something in here that I think you could give some feedback on. Jennifer
okay.
Gregg writes in chat, how about inserting the donor into the vision? And she uses this quote, you can have an impact. What do you think of that?
I love it. I think that it personifies, for the community. It really talks to me, and it's not, if I were to get an email or I were to get, a mailing in my mailbox, and it says you, Jarrett, like Jarrett, you can have an impact. You and your family can provide X amount of meals, to X amount of individuals by making a gift of X amount of dollars. I love it, Jennifer.
Yeah.
So yes, absolutely go for that. That's great. Now, this next one, hopefully I've got my slide here right. I want us to take a generic ask, and this is an active clickable link, Jack. So if you don't mind, just click through a couple of times, I think. I want us to take a generic ask, and I want you to make it irresistible. So for instance, this one says, please donate to our holiday fund. How would you change it to make it more personal and more powerful? So I don't know, Jack, if you can get that on the screen. There should be 2 more lines on there.
Here we go.
Okay, so here it is. And I would love to ask you to use the chat for this. So just type it into the chat box. But I would love to know really, how would you take this generic ask and make it irresistible? Please donate to our holiday fund. How would you change this? And Jennifer, I'm kind of looking at you too, because I'd love to know how you would insert the donor vision, right, truly into this. No pressure, but I would love to see a few of those come in. And Jack, may I, on the spot, ask you how you might change this?
So I love the use, as you mentioned earlier, Jared, where you say, Jared, please donate to, make it personal to that individual. Make the message donor centric by making it personal to that individual receiving it. Now, there are some things here in chat that I will read for you. Donate today, make an impact tomorrow. I love that. I'm not seeing the other chat. What is going on here, Debbie? You can't see. I'll come back to you. Donate to help us feed 50 families this holiday season. Talk about a call to action. That's definitely that.
Yeah.
Your gift between now and December 31st sets us up for a strong start in 2026. So all of those are really good. Any comments that you'd like to make about any of those, Jared?
I think those are fantastic. Yeah, I think that's definitely good. I've got a couple more examples I can share with you as I took this to the next step is maybe a short and powerful one. And that would be a mom named Alina visited us yesterday with tears in her eyes. She didn't know how she would feed her kids dinner this week, let alone celebrate the holidays. A gift of $35 provides a full holiday meal for a family like hers. We need to fund 120 meals by Sunday. Will you help? So that's a short, powerful, a little bit more verbose than the one that you see on the screen, but it gives you, a little bit more opportunity, possibility, options to consider as you take something that might look generic. And also, friends, I'm going to say, I've been in this sector a long time. It is okay to repurpose previous year's campaigns. And maybe you can look at that and see how you can improve upon it. Maybe you acknowledge, you know what? our campaign from 3 years ago was very generic. We can use that as our baseline, and we can enhance it, right? So that we're taking what we learned from a campaign in the past, we're adding to it, we're creating new elements, we're fluffing it up where we need to fluff it up. We're really telling that story. We're really making it donor centric. I'm going to say to my clients, don't be afraid to do that, right? Don't be afraid to go back to a previous campaign, repurpose that campaign, inserting the opportunities where you learned where you could tweak them for a greater impact, and run it again with hopefully new images, right? A little new story. So we're not telling the same story of maybe Maria from 3 years ago. Obviously, Maria is now 3 years older. Her kids are 3 years older. So, but there's still ways that you can do this. So going back to that time where we're all busy, we're all likely very stressed and overwhelmed. How can we use what we've used in the past? Okay, let's move into keeping donors engaged, because this is very important. Sadly, across the nation, our donor retention rate is decreasing. That is not the the path that we want to go. We want to increase our donor retention, not decrease it. So I want to remind you here that the year-end campaign is a marathon, right? It is not intended to be a sprint. And momentum, is truly built with these consistent touch points. So looking at it, I have seen throughout my career of consulting, I've done consulting work now for 16 years. Consistency, consistency, consistency. That is where I see us move the needle, right? It's not that sprint, it's the marathon, it's the consistency of the campaign, consistency of the touch points. That is where I see the most success in these campaigns. So some examples, right, for consistency, maybe consider weekly micro updates. Maybe consider a progress thermometer for any of you that might have kids. My son is a sophomore in high school. Every time I drive him to school and pick him up, I pass a very large thermometer, right, where they are tracking their community giving. So I'm able to nerd out every single drop off and every single pickup to see just how close we, because I'm part of this community, truly is when it comes to that impact and that community fund that they're looking to achieve. So if you are so fortunate to have a campus or somewhere that is very visual, you can also do this digitally if it's not in person, consider a thermometer, a progress thermometer. And again, this can be IRL in real life. It could also be electronic. You can also do mini milestone celebrations. So if you're looking to raise, I'm going to do quick math, $10,000, right? Let's celebrate 2,000. Let's celebrate 4,000. Let's celebrate 5 because we're halfway there. Let's have these mini milestone celebrations. And I want to tell you, people, myself included, we want to be part of a winning team. So let's make this fun. Let's make this celebratory, and let's celebrate every single milestone, regardless of how big, across the way. I also want to remind you that every single touch, right, that you have, every single outreach is a chance to affirm your trust and build that trust, the rapport with your supporters. So keep reinforcing your impact, not just your need. That is very important. And I also encourage you to really, pull in and equip your board members and your other volunteers with short, shareable content that they can text, they can post on social media, they can email, right? Like there's so many ways in which we can galvanize this collective support. And I really encourage you to do that, because that will help us build the momentum that we need to get through this very busy time of the year and season. Okay, Jack, let's move to the next one, because this momentum brings us to appreciation. And really going beyond these two words that we say very often, thank you, right? So we want to go beyond that. The thank you, first of all, is not the end of the campaign. That doesn't mean that you're done. I believe it is the bridge to the next gift, right? So we really want to make sure that we're maintaining this appreciation and we're going beyond with our donors. some creative ideas to really express your appreciation. And spoiler alert, I'm going to share a few and I'm going to ask you to share in the chat. So as I share these, go ahead and think of what you might share in the chat because I want us to really provide this in community and learn from one another. So I have three creative ideas I'm going to share with you. The first one is a behind the scenes tour, right? So you can invite your donors for a mission in motion day or whatever alliteration you want to pull together, or not alliteration, but I'm a fan. This could be a hands-on experience where your donors, your supporters, they see the work that you're doing up close, right? Maybe they get an opportunity to meet staff and your program participants if that's something that's available. And they can engage in a small intentional conversation rather than a large event. So think about a behind the scenes tours if that's available to you. I think you can also do this digitally. So if you don't, have a space or a place to do it in person, we learned a lot during COVID, friends. So let's continue to carry that out. Let's do it behind the scenes virtually if that's the only option that works for you or maybe works for your donors. The second creative idea I want to share with you is that you can create a virtual impact journey. So this kind of goes to the virtual behind the scenes. But what this could look like, the potential of this is that you create a short video, maybe even an interactive map, right, that takes the donors on a day in the life of someone impacted by their giving. If you're an animal shelter, how fun would it be to do a day in the life of Scruffy, right? Scruffy the dog, and what that looks like for Scruffy. There's so many fun, cool tools and resources out there. I could even see you putting like a GoPro on maybe the harness of this dog, right? And during the playtime, maybe you take a 20-second clip of the playtime of Scruffy and you share that out to the donors so they can see this virtual impact and really experience this journey right along with where their dollars is making a difference. The third
Jared,
one, yeah,
sorry.
jump in, Jack.
I wanted to just two people offered things in chat. One was nothing impacts a donor more than a personal experience. So getting them to tour the work that you do. But John has something here which I think is interesting. He created a thank you donors video email almost as an
Yes,
afterthought that raised $180,000 in 2 hours for an
love this.
educational organization. He gets the award. I mean, right now I'm going to give him an award for that. So,
Well,
what do
and
you
I
think
love
of that?
Well, I love that you say, John, like almost as an afterthought, right? And I wonder, John, if now this is integrated, baked in, if you will, into your current end of year or maybe next year's end of year. Because knowing that if that was an afterthought and you raised nearly $200,000, first of all, kudos, John. That is truly amazing. Trophy goes to you. Um, and shot while we were waiting for lunch. Oh, I love it. Yeah. So so there's so many opportunities. Yeah, I think these are great. And then I had a third creative ideas. So I love the eagerness of everyone sharing. Is to host a small group of donors at a partner location, right, or a community site that is tied to your mission. Keep it informal and story focused, but this really just gives them another way to see the impact in action. They get to see where their dollars go. So yeah, if there's any other creative ideas, I would love to see them in the chat. I see Debbie here. You've offered tours to donors. So that's great. I like to see that. You also mentioned your Bloomerang. So that's your donor database will tie into the thermometer. Yes, you're absolutely right. So again, that's a perfect digital format, whether you are using Bloomerang or any other donor database, you can look to see what tools and resources exist for you to help celebrate these milestones over time.
Yeah,
So
and
very
I saw Keith had his hand up. Keith,
okay.
did you have a question for Jared? Just unmute yourself. By the way, guys, when you're doing chat, make sure that the chat is for everyone and not just myself and Jared. Make sure that make sure the two is to everyone on this webinar. Keith says he
Okay.
made a mistake. Sorry, Jack. No need to apologize to me, buddy.
All good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All good. Now let's move to the next one, because what I want to help you do is to avoid mistakes, right? We want to avoid these common mistakes. You can see them on the screen here, but I want to also remind you that cause selling is like nurturing a friendship, right? If the only time you call your friend is to borrow money or ask for a ride to the airport, you might lose this friend over time, right? So don't treat a donor's gift acknowledgement like a transaction, right? Sending only a generic and personal thank you email or letter might be not enough. It might not be enough for what they're looking for. Maybe not referencing the donor specific gift or the impact that it made. That's a common mistake that I see. Donors, when this happens, they start to feel like a number rather than a valued partner. Okay. So personalize the messages, connect the gifts to these real outcomes. Don't wait. Send the thank you response immediately. So, waiting days or weeks to acknowledge a gift is a common mistake. I see this all too often. I actually see it more now than I did before March 2020. And I can attribute that because many of us now are remote, and to get, a wet signature on a document is often harder. To get a personal note on there is often harder. But I'm going to tell you, don't delay, really. Aim to acknowledge a gift within 24 to 48 hours, because when you don't, you chance the opportunity of your donors feeling undervalued or question the organizational efficiency. Ouch, that one hurts. Another I want to share here is don't overload your don't overload your donors with asks. I see this often. Like a thank you message, right? Should quickly thank the donor, really just acknowledge them. It should not quickly pivot into another appeal, right? Let's keep our acknowledgement as an acknowledgement. Let's not piggyback, if you will, on that acknowledgement and another ask. So I encourage my organizations to separate their appreciation from their solicitation. So first, we're going to say thanks. And later, if appropriate, we will discuss further giving. So that's something that I like to subscribe to. Another tip that I want to share with you is please don't only focus on your major donors. Neglecting our small and our mid-level donors is another common mistake. So I want to help you prevent that one. When we do this, right, our small to mid-sized donors, they start to feel invisible. And that can hurt your retention. As I mentioned, across the nation, our retention is going down, not up. And part of that could be because we're focusing on major and not our small to mid-sized donors as well. So tailor your appreciation strategies for all giving levels, right? No matter how many zeros are at the end. Also, the storytelling, right? Provide list of accomplishments or numbers instead of showing the donor the human impact of their gift. Make it as personal as you can, because when you do this, right, donors, they can see their role in their mission and they can likely become even more engaged. So I want you to use stories, use photos, use quotes from the beneficiaries to illustrate the impact of what your supporters are doing. So use that, incorporate that as much as you can. Also, sending this one-on-one appreciation, right? Sending these thank you notes at a point of donation and never following up beyond that is a mistake. You send a one and done and you think that's it, right? I really like to tie in, for instance, let's say you have a gala, a tomato, right? However you pronounce it. I like to do an immediate thank you. Thank you for attending tonight. And then as soon as we wrap up the dollar amount of what we raised, and it could be within the week, could be 2 weeks, right? We send an acknowledgement to everyone that attended and the collective impact that was done. But then what I like to do is I like to say, I bottle up the magic from this event and I sprinkle it out over the year. So in 3 more months, I'm going to send another touch point to this segmentation of donors that attended this event, tell them what we have done in that 90-day period, and I rinse and repeat over the course of the year, right, to that segmentation. So it's not a, flash in the pan, we're going to do this one and done appreciation. That is not going to work. Now, I want to talk about failing to recognize the non-monetary contributions, ignoring volunteer hours, ignoring in-kind donations, or even ignoring advocacy efforts. That happens. It happens too often, and I want to make sure that you have this top of mind and that you can avoid these mistakes. So when you do this, when you fail to recognize your non-monetary contributions, right? People who give their time, their expertise, their advocacy, they too start to feel undervalued. So I want you to think every form of contribution and highlight its impact. Many of us work with a cadre of volunteers. If we did not have that galvanized volunteer support, we would pay hundreds of thousands of dollars, right, to our workforce. So I've spent some time in food banks, and if we didn't have the cadre of volunteers to sort canned foods, assemble the packing station, to pack it, to get it out to the individuals, that would have been hundreds of thousands, millions, truly, of dollars that the organization would have to pay. So it's really important that we think every form of contribution and we highlight that impact. Now, the last one here, a common mistake, is using impersonal and mass-produced notes. So an over-reliance on these automated emails, especially our online, or a standard letter with zero customization. Our donor databases now, they are very smart. Plus, AI is integrated in just about everything these days. So when you can insert as many data fields as possible and really customize the thank you, I want you to do that. I practice with my clients that every year we are reviewing our letters. Every quarter, the letter gets updated with the previous quarter's impact, right? So it's constantly getting revised and evolved over time. We start with something and then we start to really, narrow it down and really build on that impact and telling the story. So I want you to really update your letters, customize them as much as you possibly can. Handwritten notes, people love those. Let me tell you, it is so much better to get a handwritten note in the mail than it is a bill or an invoice for something. That definitely is the first thing that I open. Phone calls, you might get a voicemail and that's okay. But still, when I get a voicemail from an organization that I support, it makes me feel so good. It's not an ask. It's a gratitude call, a gratitude voicemail. So I encourage you to do phone calls and also short personal videos. They make a huge difference. We all have, our phones there and our pups sometime as our screensaver. We all have the ability to do a low cost video that we can send. So imagine if you have an event, right? This gala, and you do a quick video at the event that says, look at the room, look at the energy, look at everything that's happening because of you. Thank you so much for being here. You can use that and you can send that video, the next morning after the event or whatever. So don't be afraid for personal videos. And also don't be afraid to ask others to help with these personal videos. The event chair, the board chair, a volunteer, right? Another staff person, a recipient. There's so many people that can jump on. And often in today's world, it's easier to find someone that will say, yes, I will record a video for you than to say no. There's many people right now that want to be influencers and they don't mind the spotlight. So use them the best you can. Any other mistakes, Jack, that you would add here?
No, what I love about this slide, and I'm almost wanting to take a screenshot of this slide because I think that not only did you talk about common mistakes, but you talk about how to avoid them. And also you spoke about what to do instead of making the mistake.
Good.
So all of these things are really good things that I hope everybody who's on this webinar will listen to and bring back to their own work as they do their year-end fundraising.
Good. Yeah, I hope so. And Debbie, I see you. Thank you so much. Debbie says, I usually follow up with a personal invitation to meet for lunch or coffee. Absolutely. That's fantastic. And that you agree, a personal phone call and even a voicemail from a charity is wonderful. Yes. And friends, I know sometimes this phone feels like 100-pound brick. I get it. I get it. I'm right there with you. Right. But I also know every time I do these calls, I am reinvigorated. I'm reminded why it's important. And I am so grateful. It's for me, it's like going to the gym. I don't want to go to the gym. Every time I come back home from the gym, I feel amazing. Similar to the phone calls, right? Pick up the phone, use it. It's great. And yes, you're right, Debbie. It's always better than a voicemail from a solicitor.
Right. Totally.
Okay, let's go to the next one because I want to talk about motivating your internal team and really building in some alignment. So, if you are feeling stressed, if you are feeling overwhelmed, chances are your team is as well. So the donor experience is a reflection of your team's energy as well as your team's alignment. Okay. So if you haven't picked up, I like to celebrate. I like to celebrate pretty much anything that, is worth celebrating. And I think there's a lot worth celebrating. So I suggest that you celebrate every monetary milestone as well as non-monetary, as I previously said in the slide. So you can have a daily team huddle. You can share donor feedback internally, right? So if you, Debbie, have a great coffee meeting with a donor, share that with your team. Let them know what's going on. That could really inspire someone else to reach out and have their own coffee meeting with the donor. And congratulate your colleagues on every single win. Because I want you to remember that your internal buy-in, right, drives that external buy-in. So again, the donor experience, it's a reflection of us and our team, our energy, and the alignment in what we're doing. So I want to know, I'm curious, what's one thing, use the chat, what's one thing that your team could do this week to make your year end more joyful instead of stressful? Is there anything you can think of that you could do to really galvanize the momentum, galvanize some opportunities for celebration? I'd really like to know.
So,
Yes,
Chris,
Chris.
go ahead. You want to
Yeah,
read them? Okay.
yeah. And first of all, hi, Chris. It's good to see you here. Yes, you will receive the recording and the slides. So absolutely, everyone who's registered will get that. And as Jack said, he wanted to take a screenshot. You're welcome to do that too. So take a screenshot, pull out your phone. But yes, you will also get the deck. So no worries. Catherine mentions that she shares a social media post and celebrate the new, or that you can share social media post and celebrate our new phase. Yes, Catherine, you absolutely can. I love that. Jennifer, share a positive experience you had with a donor. Absolutely. Ask your team to do that and to share a favorite thing about the mission. I love that, Jennifer, because that speaks to the simplicity of what's possible, right? It really doesn't have to be a lot of work, a heavy lift. So that's great. I love this too. Sharing our group team message, positive messages in all wins. Yes, I love it, whether it's chat, whether it's what's the one we use? Slack, right? Like there's so many different platforms that we can talk with our remote colleagues. I love getting updates there. I love giving virtual high fives just as much as I love giving them and getting them in person. Um, let's see. What am I missing here, Jack? I think a
Well,
couple came in.
Amanda has asked donors to share gratitude with
Hmm.
each other at a small holiday event for our top donors. Love that. Colleen has cancel or reduce internal meetings. I love this, especially love this one. Recognizing the end of the year workload, much appreciated. I'm with you, Colleen, on that one. Austin says, like you stated before, make sure that you celebrate along the way. Celebrate 20%, 50%, 75%. Awesome. Really, really
Yeah.
good idea.
Well, thank you. And keep those coming, right? Like seriously, if you are feeling drained, if you're feeling stressed, the chances are your team is as well. So I encourage you to build in some time and really just have that awareness, that acknowledgement with your team. Because what we don't want to do is we don't want to externally reflect that we are exhausted, that we are burnt out. So take some time, right, to take care of yourself and to take care of your team because it is truly a marathon. Okay, we've got the next slide, if you will, Jack. It is an animated one as well. Oh, good. Okay, so I want to do a community share here, and I want you to share your favorite example of a donor who increased giving after feeling genuinely appreciated. Is there anyone that has had this experience, right? And it doesn't have to be within the last month or even 6 months, at all in your career. I would love for you to share your favorite example of a donor that might have increased their gift after feeling genuinely appreciated. Jack, I'm putting you on the spot, but maybe as we
Okay.
wait for some of our guests to bring some in, is there anything that comes top of mind to you?
Yeah,
I'm curious.
I think that whenever I've shown authentic gratitude, appreciation, and thankfulness, they've felt so good that sometimes on occasion they would say to themselves, hey, you know what? I have some extra cash that I could send for a second gift at the end of the year. So, yeah, I mean,
Yes,
it's expressing genuine appreciation and being authentic with it, not formulaic, like you said before. Don't send those standard everybody thank you letters, but being really
yes.
individualized and authentic, I think is really key. Here's some things here. Debbie
Let's
wrote,
hear it.
yeah, she wrote, I have had donors. Oh, not Debbie, sorry. Holly writes, I have had donors send back an impact report. No ask, just thanks and updates with an additional unsolicited gift. That is a great impact reports are really awesome. We also have here, good afternoon. My name is Asia. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm here to represent the Pi Mu Phi Business Sorority. We are now in fundraising and donor support as a new organization. Thank you for the information. That's just a really nice thank you message to you. Debbie writes, we are also doing a Zoom meeting with an out-of-state donor and their entire family at the end of the year. I love this. This is
Yeah.
generational, creating a culture of philanthropy through generations. A donor family makes recurring gifts. One of their members contributes with volunteers hours and on a weekly basis, and also serves at our on our board of directors. We are so lucky to have her. What a great thing that is, Catherine. We invite a donor who had increased to our 1K level society to be featured in a donor story in our magazine. Recognition is awesome. After it
Mm.
was published, I took her to thank you lunch and gave her copies of her for her family in the Science Center backpack. I also read an article she sent, and of course, that resulted in an unsolicited 4K gift. That's a 400% increase in giving. That is just awesome. And,
Congratulations. Yes.
yeah, and told us we were in her and their estate plans. Wow.
Love it.
Amanda
Congrats.
writes, I had one this week. A donor wanted to do a step up program for our highest giving society. We flexed our rules a little bit to give him a 4-year pledge option. Love pledges instead of a 3-year because he's been such a long-term supporter. He doubled his gift size and sent an email of appreciation to our entire team. Chris writes, after giving a lower level donor a private tour, they ended up funding 2 new vehicles for the organization. Wow, that sounds like went from an annual giving, a smaller gift, to a major gift, a super major gift. Definitely. So
That's
there's lots of things in this during this community share that you guys should all take a look at, and maybe get some ideas on how you could show that genuine appreciation at the end of the year.
Yes, yes, yes. And then Debbie at the very top, I don't want to miss this one. We had several donors over the past year who increased their gifts this year after the executive director and her, Debbie, took them to lunch. Congratulations. These are fantastic. And thank you for sharing in community, because I want us to inspire others, right? Like I really do. And for us to celebrate our own wins together. So Michelle adds, we have board members handwrite thank you notes during quarterly meetings. Great job. And we've had donors who gave an additional support because of these notes. That's fantastic. Debbie adds again, we recently received an in-kind gift from a donor who told us we were only recipient of her mother's bequest, who sent a personal thank you note. She's eliminating the other charities from her future giving plans. That is amazing. So thank you for everyone who contributed and shared your own stories, your favorite examples of donors who increased their giving after feeling genuinely appreciated. I personally have done this myself, as the donor side, and I just want to share that. So for my alma mater, I was not previously very engaged with them, nor were they really engaging with me. The new director of development, or whatever their title was, truly, he took it upon himself to get to know me. I made a small gift, right? And then there was an ask that came out, very specific, very urgent, very tangible, and it happened to be for sports. So I was a college athlete, and this really hit home for me. And so because he sent this, and it was a broad ask, it wasn't dedicated just to me, but I gave again. And it was only because I felt genuinely connected. This donor, or sorry, the staff person had really taken an interest in me, really gotten to know me, really understands the fact that I too am a nonprofit nerd, and we really spoke the language and the jargon when we got together. And honestly, just about any time like a broad call to action came out, I gave of some level. So know that this happens, and I'm right there with you, Jack. I really believe it comes when we can express authentically to our donors and our supporters their impact. So again, this goes beyond those common mistakes. Personalize your thank you notes, customize your thank you notes, do them timely, do them authentically. There's a lot of really, really good things to happen. So thank you, thank you, thank you. As we move to the next slide, I want us to talk about planning for Q4 donor re-engagement, because that could be something that is on your radar right now. It should be. I want you to pull what I call a LYBUNT report. That's an acronym, LYBUNT. It stands for last year, but unfortunately not this. That is my go-to report at this time of the year. We are going to pull our LYBUNT last year, but unfortunately not this year. We're going to see who has not given, right? This year, they gave last and they haven't given yet, but it also helps us to see, when do they typically give, right? Are they around that Thanksgiving marker? Are they around that perhaps Christmas marker? Are the last three days of December, right? Like really starting to know our segmentation of our donors, because it is not too late to re-engage lapsed donors. It is not too late. And I always see this as like our low-hanging fruit. These are the individuals that we really should have top of mind, because we want to keep that donor retention up. We want to make sure that we take time to acknowledge them, reach out to them. Hopefully we're doing that before the solicitation, right? So pull this list, because you can re-engage these lapsed donors. It's critical right now. So even if a donor hasn't given recently, right, they can be reminded of the impact that they've had and the urgent need to continue to support. So you could even highlight for these donors some specific outcomes that their past gift enabled to create that emotional reconnection, right? Let's get them back into the fold. Let's tell them what their gift last year or the previous years have done for the organization. Use storytelling to make the donor feel like a hero again, right? We're not shaming or blaming them for not being involved recently. We're making them feel like that hero that they are and they were for us. I want you to also consider surprising and delighting your donors. Go beyond asking for support to deepen the donor's emotional connection to your mission as well as your organization. Some ways you can do this, right? You can send unexpected updates, as I mentioned earlier, like micro updates, weekly updates, maybe even those behind the scenes stories or small tokens of appreciation, whatever that might look like. Celebrate the donor milestones. My favorite, because I have yet to work with an organization that captures birthdays, we celebrate anniversary dates. And those are anniversary dates as it relates to their gift, right? There are 12 months in a year. everyone gives at one of those 12 months. So I like to pull when was their first gift to the organization. It could be in March, right? So in March, I'm pulling all of the anniversary gifts for that month, regardless of year. And I am sending out a little bit of a surprise and delight message to them. So that's something you could do right now. You could pull all of your November donors that gave their first gift in November, regardless of year. You want to make sure that your data is clean, right? You want to trust your database. But you could send them a letter that said, your first gift to us was made in 2017. And over the years, a cumulative, impact of $25,000 has helped us do fill in the blanks, right? So that is some ways that we can surprise and delight our donors. You of course can do their birth date if you have it. Again, Jack, have you ever worked in an organization that
Yeah.
truly had the birth date?
We
Oh,
used to we used to try to get the birth dates, and not a lot. Not a lot of people share those. We just say month,
yeah,
day, without
yeah,
asking for year,
we
and you
need
could do
here.
that. Yeah. But I
Yeah, I
I
love
think you're onto something, Jared. I mean, typically we could send Happy New Year cards instead of Hanukkah, Christmas, or any other religious holiday. Just a Happy New Year. Welcome to the New Year 2026. Everybody celebrates the New Year, no matter what their faith is, or some other holiday or Happy 4th of July, or if you're in Canada, Happy Thanksgiving. There's a Thanksgiving in Canada and there's a Thanksgiving in the US. So all of those kinds of memorializing those holidays are really fun. And they're not getting who's getting have you gotten any cards for Thanksgiving, Jared? Probably not. I know
it.
I have.
Got
You got
one.
one. Great. I mean,
Yes.
but so if we
Yeah,
did that, if we sent Thanksgiving Day cards, I know Thanksgiving was earlier for Canadians, but ours is coming up a week from tomorrow. Sending that out, I just think that's a nice little special thing that you could do.
I do too. Absolutely. And really just creating those moments, so that the donors feel like insiders and they feel like co-creators of the impact. So really, really keeping with that. And then, I want you to also move from a one-time transaction to an ongoing partnership. And, we need to stop thinking of our donors as ATM machines. They're not, right? They are real people. They get a choice. There are 1.8 million nonprofits registered in the US. I don't know how many across the globe, but in the US specific. So they have a choice, right? They really have a choice. So I want you to position your organization as a partner in creating lasting change with them, not just a recipient of their donation, a partner, right? Like really shift your vernacular. Show the donor this clear path of an ongoing impact. So what does monthly giving look like? What does a volunteer opportunity look like? Maybe where are their advocacy opportunities? Like how else can they really be part of this partnership and emphasize the shared values and the mission alignment that helps to really deepen and anchor that trust. So these are just some ideas I want you to think of as you plan for Q4. And then the next slide, Jack, I believe we have a couple of resources here. So I'm going to talk broadly about them. And then the next two slides goes into each of them individually. So on the next slide, I will talk through the checklist. That's what's next. You can download it. You can get your phone ready, snap this QR. And I encourage you to do this because these tools are great for your team. And I'll just kind of go through this checklist here with you. Now, I actually start my end of year October 1. So in September, that's some of the preparation I'm doing, right? Like, what is the theme? What is the offer? What is the logo? Like, what is it we're naming? We're really talking about this. And this can be done before September, but I just kind of wanted to chunk this into some action items for the end of the year. October, right? We're collecting testimonies, we're collecting impact stories, videos, we're writing and reporting back communications, we're designing and testing a donation page. So this checklist, you can scan the QR, you will also get it in the deck, so however you wish to receive it. But this talks through what we need to do, what is that checklist, right? All the moving pieces, because it is a marathon, not a sprint. And really looking at concluding, if you will, in January. Now, again, I start my solicitations for end of year October 1 and I end January 31. January, the entire month of January, I spend saying thank you. So I really thank them for the donors. The donations that they've made. I create the impact stories. Maybe even I do a donor survey, depending on the organization and where we are in collecting surveys and feedback from our donors. But we also assess the performance. But January, I do a big thank you, thank you, thank you to our donors, because October, November, December is extremely busy. And so I hope this checklist is helpful. Maybe not necessarily for this year, but you can see exactly where are you to date, maybe some of the items that you haven't done yet, but also keep it in your toolbox for next year. Again, this is a tool I want to share with you, as well as the next slide, Jack. This is a true story of mine where I helped an organization increase their end of year revenue by 374% growth. Now, this is truly phenomenal because the organization itself was under $1 million. So I set a goal of raising $200,000 in 3 months, right? Quite lofty for this organization. I will tell you, we did not reach 200,000. We came very shy of it by just, I think it was like, we came in around 170 or 180, I believe. But I still celebrated that. And I sent out a message later that said, thank you so much. You helped us raise X amount of dollars. I was transparent. While we didn't meet the $200,000 goal, there is still a need. And we did have a couple of people trickle in some more money. You can scan this QR, full transparency. It goes to the case study, the article on my personal LinkedIn page. It tells you the whole formula. It shows you absolutely, everything I did, but I'm going to go through those high levels with you right now. One, we set that clear goal and metrics. So again, our primary goal was to raise $200,000 in 3 months. Our secondary goal for this was to engage and retain our supporters for future campaigns, right? So setting these two measurable goals, that allowed all of us to really focus our efforts strategically and maintain the momentum and stay consistent. The second here is we integrated a multi-channel marketing. We used emails, we used social media, we made phone calls, direct mail appeals, holiday cards, all of it, right? In a very coordinated effort. This ensured a couple of things. One, we stayed with a consistent message. It went out across all channels and it really reinforced the mission, the urgency, the ask, like the entire campaign. We also used consistent branding and identity. So we maintained the strong branding and the visuals across all of those platforms that I previously mentioned. That helped us to build and deepen the trust and recognition among our supporters, and it strengthened the organization's identity over that 90-day period. We amplified our outreach. As I mentioned, we increased the frequency and the variety of our communications to cut through some end of year fundraising noise, right? Again, this is a very busy time for all of us. And we personalize our outreach through preferred donor channels to increase our engagement. So we worked really hard and it was successful. I don't want to forget, because we added personal touches of donor gratitude. We sent gratitude videos. I would write a script for the founder. This was a founder-led organization, for them to send out to specific donors. Again, we sent holiday cards. There was handwritten notes in these. So we were very intentional with our personal touch. And I do believe that this helped, really to strengthen our emotional connection and the loyalty among the donors. So showing that appreciation beyond the fundraising ask. So the results, because I know you're dying to know them. I had already mentioned, we didn't achieve the full $200,000 goal, but we did have these results. We added 26 new donors to the supporter base. One donor in particular, they doubled their annual contribution from 10,000 to 20,000. 43% of the donor retention rate maintained. So we were able to maintain our donor retention at that 43%. And as I show on the slide here, very boastfully, we did 374% increase of their previous end of year campaign. So that is phenomenal for this organization. I also want to share kind of what this looks like. And if you do scan and it takes you to my LinkedIn profile, you'll see in the article. But we sent out 10 very strategic timed emails over 10 days. So we sent out 10 emails over 90 days. So 10 emails, 90 days. We were able to keep the unsubscribe rate minimal. We took the lessons we learned from this end of year campaign, right? And we implemented them. So we really added them to guide us through the future campaigns, ensuring that sustained growth and that engagement. So bottom line for something like this, I want to tell you, strategic, that is intentional. You've got to be strategic and have that intentionality. Use and leverage the multi-channel approach, right? With that consistency, consistent branding, consistent with your personal donor engagement, consistent with your voice, consistent. But yeah, so this, truly drove both the financial results and the long-term supporter relationships that we were hoping. Now, you also heard in the chat, what was it, Justin? Am I recalling the name here that we had? That shared his success on that video. Jack,
Yeah.
do you remember?
Yeah,
Was
it
it
wasn't
John?
Justin. I'm looking for him.
It was John. So he
John.
created thank you donor video email almost as an afterthought. Again, he said, right? And he raised 180,000 in 2 hours. So use these tools, use these stories, go back to the community chat, save the chat if you want, right? Like these are all fantastic opportunities because I want you to really deliver amazing results, but I also want you to deliver these results in a way that are authentic, they are donor centric, you're using this cause selling model. Because in summary, that's really what we're here for, right? So the next slide, Jack, hopefully if we're on the right deck together. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, is really to recap, right? So I want you to build momentum, keep the momentum. We're towards the end of November, keep the momentum going strong all the way through December. Use your board, right? Use them as ambassadors to help with the outreach. Avoid those mistakes that I mentioned earlier. As Jack said, yes, I call out the mistakes, but I also call out how we can avoid them and what we need to be doing differently. Keep your team motivated. I forget the name, but thank you for taking those unnecessary meetings off the calendar right now. Let's put them back in with maybe some celebration huddles, celebration stand-ups, some high fives. Let's keep this momentum fresh and going strong. Celebrate all of your wins, truly every single win. And don't forget to re-engage with your donors in Q1 with gratitude. Thank you for helping us achieve the goal, right, that we set out at year end. Remember, it is not just about reaching your goal. We want to reach our goal, but it's also about making our donors, our partners, feel like partners and feel like heroes. So any questions as we wrap up? Oh, John, yes. Would you share that video you mentioned? I would love to see it. I don't know if you've got a link you can drop in the chat. If you want, you can send an email to any of us here at Fundraising Academy. I would love to see it. So thank you. That's a very generous offer. Yeah.
Great. Doesn't look like there are any questions.
All right. Well, take it away, Jack. Tell them how they can connect with us.
Here's how to connect with us. QR codes. We're both on LinkedIn, and those QR codes will take you to our profiles. We'd love for you to connect with us. Remember that our online learning portal, which Jarrett mentioned earlier, I know there are so many people on here who are trying to accumulate those continuing education credits, either to certify for CFRE or are already CFRE certified and you want to make sure you recertify in 3 years. Here's where to do it, and it's free. When you hear that often, not very. So our year-end giving assessment, end of year giving assessment with my great friend, LaShonda Williams, who I think will be awesome. It's December 17th, and the moderator standing in for Jack will be Jarrett Ranson. So I can't emphasize enough. December 17th, I'm going to be there because I think it's really important. It's going to be a great webinar. So join us. Please join us on the 17th.
Yeah.
And of course, we have the fundraising essential certificate. I know some of you who are on this call today are part of that, and we'd love for you to look into that, scan that QR code to learn more about that. And of course, we thank you. First of all, Jarrett, thank you for your wisdom, your nerdiness, and everything else you brought to this webinar. It's really great. And thank you all for joining us. We love you. Have a happy Thanksgiving if I don't see you before a week from tomorrow. And have a great holiday and Happy New Year. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.